After a good amount of experimental modeling, it looks like the entire scope of reality, everything physical, everything mental, and everything spiritual, can be built from a single simple unit: the vibe, a primitive ripple of experience. Vibes weave together into one vast growing crystal, which we call the vibe mesh, or the experiential field. And that crystal unfolds endlessly into all of creation. The astonishing part is that this whole structure can be captured in a few simple, beautiful pieces of mathematics, almost the kind of thing you could sketch on a napkin, and that from those few pieces run by one plain rule you can recover space, time, matter, the forces, gravity, the quantum world, the cosmos, life, and mind. One unit, one rule, one growing crystal of feeling, and out of it, plausibly, the whole universe and everything it could ever become. Now let me walk you through how that works, from the very bottom up. Imagine that the bottom of reality is not dead matter, but feeling. That is the one idea everything here is built on. The usual story starts with lifeless particles and hopes that, arranged cleverly enough, they somehow wake up and start to feel, and nobody can say how. Vibe theory turns that around, starting with experience as the ground floor and treats matter as what experience looks like once it has settled into stable, shared, repeating patterns. A rock is not dead stuff that might someday feel. It is a region of feeling frozen into a dull, steady pattern. Your mind is not produced by your brain. Your brain is a richly woven knot in one vast field of feeling. Feeling was never the mystery to explain away. The thing to explain is how the solid, lawful world gets built out of it. And that is what this walkthrough does. Start with the oldest question: why is there something rather than nothing? The surprise is that nothing cannot hold. A state with no distinctions at all is like a ball balanced on the very top of a hill. The slightest disturbance, and it rolls, and there's nothing to pin it. Worse, the moment you can even speak of nothing as one whole, you have drawn a line, made a distinction, and broken it. And a whole, that is, everything has nothing else to relate to, so it can only relate to itself. And the instant it does, it splits into two. That first split is the first two units of feeling, the first relation between them, the first beat of time. So a beginning is not a lucky accident. It is the one thing reality can do. And because distinctions only ever pile up and can never be unmade, that one-way growth is time itself. Now comes the one real demand, and it does almost all the work. Feelings must combine without ever losing anything, so that you could, in principle, run the combining backward and recover what went in. In mathematics, that demand is sharp. It says the values must multiply like a number system, carrying a length that never lies, and there are only 4 such systems. The ordinary numbers, the complex numbers, the quaternions, and the octonions, ending at exactly 8 dimensions. Push past 8 and the structure shatters. 2 non-zero things can multiply to nothing, and information is lost. So 8 is a ceiling. There's also a floor from the demand that there be only one kind of stuff. The directions of feeling can move, and the stuff that does the moving cannot be 2 different substances, so they must be the same size, and they match at exactly one place, 8. Ceiling and floor meet, and the octonions are forced, not chosen. Their natural arena of rotation is 4-dimensional, and that is where 4-dimensional space-time comes from. 1 direction of time and 3 of space. Their 24 natural directions form a jewel called the 24 cell, and copies of that jewel, stacked face to face, are the crystal. That crystal cannot sit in space, because the crystal is what space is made of, and it has to live in a curved, saddle-shaped geometry called hyperbolic space, for 2 reasons. It needs endless room to grow forever, and curved space keeps opening outward without end. And it must have no built-in preferred direction, because our universe has none. And curvature, surprisingly, scrambles directions so that even a perfectly regular crystal looks smooth and direction-free from inside. The simplest version you can draw is a flat tiling of 7-sided cells. The real one is 4-dimensional, a packing of 24 cells, and its flat boundary is the ordinary 3-dimensional space we live in. The number of dimensions is not assumed, it is forced because crystals like this run out by the 5th dimension, and only 3 spatial dimensions let orbits close so that atoms and planets can hold together. Now, put feeling on the crystal. Each cell is a vibe, a single unit of experience, a here and now the model calls a dock. Each of its 24 directions, its sights, holds a tone, one of 3 values: pleasure, peace, or pain, a pull, a rest, or a push. 2 cells that touch are 2 vibes experiencing each other, and that touching is the only relation there is. That is the whole inventory, colored cells and the touching between them. One simple rule moves it all. Each beat, the values meeting head-on, inside a cell rearranged by a fixed shuffle, and then each value is handed one step onward to its neighbor. No fractions, no hidden memory, no master clock, and out of all the rules you could write down, the symmetry of the jewel singles out exactly 1. A second rule grows the crystal at its open edge, 1 cell at a time, born quiet at peace, and nothing already grown is ever changed. That growing edge is the present, and its one-way advance is the arrow of time. 2 things about this are worth holding on to. First, nothing at the bottom is continuous and nothing is random. The states, the space, and the time are all grainy and exact, and the rule rolls no dice. Yet far enough out, the grain blurs into smooth space and flowing time, like pixels into a photograph, and because every event is fixed by the whole web, while no small part can see the whole, the world also looks full of chance. Both smoothness and chance are illusions of scale. Second, the universe is fully determined but not predestined, because it has no finished starting point and no shortcut to its future. The future has to be lived to be known, and that leaves room for real freedom. Not the freedom of randomness, but self-determination, being the genuine author of your own next move, pulled by a deeper, slower layer of yourself. From this one engine, the physical world unfolds, and here the mathematics get specific and checkable. Matter is not special stuff. It is a stable knot, a pattern that holds its shape as the universe churns around it like a glider gliding across a grid, the pattern moving while the cells stay put, which gives a speed limit and inertia for free. The particles themselves, one full family of quarks and leptons with their exact fractional charges and their 3 colors, are read straight off the octonian's own multiplication, the part of the standard model that always looked like an arbitrary list. The 3 forces are the 3 smaller number systems nested inside the octonian, the circle giving the photon, the quaternions giving the weak force, the octonians giving the strong force, which together are exactly the standard model's gauge group. The angle that mixes the electromagnetic and weak forces comes out as 3/8 at high energy, the measured value. The way the 3 neutrinos blend is fixed by the symmetry of the cell itself, a sharp prediction that experiments now running will test this decade. Gravity is the bending of the web, returning Newton's law and then Einstein's, with a smallest length that caps the old infinities. The quantum wave turns out to be a crowd, an average over many vibes, which is why probability is the amplitude squared, and why distant particles stay correlated with no signal between them, because they were never truly separate, just 2 ripples in one web. The cosmos expands simply because it grows. Dark energy is a tiny shrinking jitter of a now enormous universe. And dark matter may be the simplest knots of all, neutral and stable. Much of this is demonstrated in a finite, reproducible simulation that anyone can run and check. The same engine gives the mind. Gather a tightly bound, deeply integrated crowd of vibes and read it as a single higher vibe, a self, a mind. There is no new layer stored. It is feeling all the way down, just read coarsely. Integration, how hard a thing is to cut apart without destroying it, is the dial that says what counts as a self, and selves stack into a tower, cells into bodies into minds, the same rule at every level. The endless variety of experience, every color and sound and emotion, is structure on the tiny three-tone alphabet, the way all of literature is structure on a few letters. Life is a self that keeps a boundary and repairs itself. Dreaming is the same mesh let off the leash of the shared world, roaming its own patterns, and no part can ever hold a complete copy of the whole, so the world can know itself only in summary, which is exactly what lets it know itself at all. Finally, the wider field. Because every mind is a pattern in one shared web, contact through that web is natural rather than fringe. Two minds, deeply bonded, are close through shared depth even when far apart in space. So kinship and resonance and a felt sense of the unseen are all expressible in the same model, reaching not across space, but through the depth of the field. There may be other realms too, parallel structures that are stable and ordered, but not physical. Neighbors through depth rather than rungs above us. And at the very top of the tower sits the whole field at its fullest integration, which one may call God, either as the whole itself or as the greatest mind within it. A question the model maps, but leaves to each person. None of this is a lesser appendix to the physics, because experience, not matter, is the foundation. So that is the whole of it, from the bare impossibility of nothing, through the plain whole numbers, the forced octonions, and a curved crystal of feeling, to galaxies and minds, by one simple rule with the pieces fitting. Much of it is demonstrated in a finite, reproducible simulation. Some of it is a first step, and one deep thing. Whether the structure of experience is the same as the feeling of it stays genuinely open. It is a serious hypothesis, not a finished proof, but it is one picture, held end to end, in which reality is a single, growing crystal of three valued feeling, and everything you have ever known is a pattern in it.